Welcome back to Dum-Dums and Dragons, where improvisers who've never roleplayed before journey into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. I am the Grand Wizard Bukake, your host. Our heroes have spent weeks recovering at their fortress and teaching Ginny lessons. Juniper taught her about not needing to be one thing. Reginald tried to impart some professional paranoia, and Quinny coached her in sleight of hand. But can our heroes survive the suicide mission yet to come? Find out next on Dum-Dums and Dragons.
Butthole, there is a knock on your door, which is honestly a fairly common occurrence these days at the Fortress of Forlorn Hope. As you know, for a man who's always valued friendship and fellowship, you find yourself in a position of power. And I mean, you've adopted this name for a long time, and you've given edicts and that sort of thing. This is the first time you've had like a bunch of people relying on you in this way in a really long time. People who aren't soldiers or miscreants like Quinny, who aren't, looking up to you like Bucky or mules like Hot Ass. Like these are just kind of regular people. How have you been feeling about kind of being the butthole of the people of late?
I hate that.
The butthole of the people. It's true. It's true. That's who he is. He likes a good portion of it. He likes dealing with people. He likes healing people. He likes that there are kids. He will be sneaking out to play like kickball with them. And on days where there aren't other injuries, he's the guy the littlest kids can come to when they have a boo-boo. Only like when he actually engages with it, it actually fucking heals. Like none of that mom bullshit where they kiss your leg and you're still injured.
Baby Miles, if you're listening to this, stop listening. If I kiss it, it's better. The Band-Aids solve everything. Don't worry about it. Shut up, Ryan.
Yeah. But like for him, it goes to zero. No pantomime required. And that part of the job really appeals to him. Getting to deal with people, getting to help people, getting to make things good, because he has not lived a life where he gets to just generically make things nicer for other people. He has had to go in and hit something that is making things bad with a hammer and then move on because he brings a lot of heat with him. And this is the first time he's like objectively doing good without requiring the hammer all day. The parts of the job that require the hammer are the parts of the job that make him tired. He is constantly trying to coordinate with all of the other rulers of these island, and I use island in the sense of not surrounded by water, but just surrounded by zombies, just these island nations that are surviving in the seas of the undead, trying to coordinate with them, trying to coordinate with the refugees that are here, trying to make things as effective as possible, building a legacy, building an army, building a church. The church part's great, but all the rest of it, I think the more he is exposed to getting to wander around in his Ghost of Christmas Present robe and just do nice things for people, the more he would rather be doing that than these other very necessary things that are part of the job. And he's doing them. He'll fucking do them because he's got to, and that's part of being a king and that's part of being a god, but that part he is learning that he cares for less. He was never somebody who thought he'd get tired of having a hammer in his hand. And it's necessary and it's a tool, but the hammer may not be who he is moving forwards. He is coming to realize.
I think that makes sense too, with kind of moving out of this realm of who you were literally designed and built to be into who you were kind of reborn as, into kind of a weird melded state of understanding all of those pieces and then moving forward as a unified presence. So yeah, I like that a lot. To that effect, before we get to Ginny, the two main things that I think you've been coordinating, aside from this mission with Reginald that Reginald's kind of taking the lead on, are reestablishing the connection to the Thieves Guild. You kind of miss having an airship, and establishing the connection to Greywater. So we're starting to run low on people. We've got people assigned to some of the big things. The good news is you are able to lean on some old friends to get things up and going here. Lil Pim Pim and his war band are currently fighting their way to Neverwinter. You basically taped a message to his pot after he and his group finally made their way up here. As you'll recall, they did join the allied force you'd put together a long time ago. And as is the way with Lil Pim Pim, you just kind of point him in a direction and sword and bees happen. So he's just spreading friendship across the land as he fights his way to Neverwinter. And your hope is that someone will find the note on the pot that he's wearing, and that Polka will be able to kind of relink up with you, largely because, again, to those greater concerns of islands, you're very far from that coast. So if you can get communication lines at least flowing up and down sort of the East Coast, that will help things quite considerably.
Yes. Butthole's powers have also expanded because of his new God thing, not because Ryan reread the handbook and realized he had access to more spells.
No, God thing.
Yeah, God thing. The God thing expanded. It worked narratively, otherwise I just wouldn't have done it. But the interesting thing is he'd always had, like, trying to sort out his messenger pigeons. But he now just has a menagerie full of any bird he can find because he can speak with animals now. So he can actually talk with any bird, negotiate with them, make a good deal, and then be like, here's a picture of the person, here's the message. So they've like sorted out their own routes. Like he's got a team of loyal birds of various species.
Who have unionized, please.
Oh, absolutely. They have their representatives. They've sorted it out. It's all very equitable and all very safe. They have their own workplace safety, things. They've chosen their own routes. They run it in teams. All that good stuff. Paid heavily in seed and pine cones.
I was going to say bird seed, yeah.
So with that in mind then, why have you sent Little Pim Pim to Neverwinter? If the birds can do the messages.
The birds can do the messages, but they're still birds. So it's not like they can bring back effective reporting or actually get people to work along, like, together. Lil Pim Pim, A, will kill a shitload of zombies on the way. Always useful. B, he will show up and people will either ally with him or they will get hit with friendship until they're dead. So there will be two necessary kinds of friendship on the table. He offers friendship or friendship. Those are his deals. When he yells it, I'm sure it's confusing the first time, but after they see what happens to the first guy, the second guy will be able to make the deal.
Yeah, you eventually find yourself a Junior J or you find yourself dead.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so you've got birds.
Projects his
and
hatred of
Pim
his father onto you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Dad. Headed to Neverwinter. You also have Ranger and his giant cave badger in search of the Thieves Guild.
Yep.
Ranger, I think, was more of a distance message. They were able to get to him due to his current circumstance. He can't really set foot in Forlorn Hope. But one of your birds managed to find him, and so he is searching for that now that he doesn't need to worry about Alan so much anymore.
In addition to the birds, Tom, because I love to make your life fun.
You do. You really do.
I can also cast sending if I am familiar with the creature. So I can send up to 25 words directly into their mind anywhere on the planet. So it will help me make
feel
no
like
new
you are
alliances.
rather familiar with Ranger the Ranger.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been inside that dude's brain and shit.
Yeah.
I taught him to read. So he's also someone where it is a level 3 spell, so the birds are the general tactic.
Sure,
but
yeah,
if there is like a crisis message or finding him to send the first bird rather than being like, go look for a guy who's probably underground with a giant cave badger, we could be like, hey man, pick up your fucking mail.
Find an illithid who has a cave badger and also many dicks, and they will be the person. Yeah, I like
Tell
that.
me where you are, and I'll send a bird. It'll be up on top. It'll be super easy for you to find, man, and you'll get a whole letter. I promise it'll have some dicks and nipples in it.
Okay. So, slightly trepidatious, but having to put the reading to the test, but also confident with the skills he's been imbued with. All right, so you've got Ranger going after the Thieves Guild. You've got Pim Pim going after Neverwinter. Reginald's planning the big thing, and otherwise you've just been keeping people alive, which is great. That said, this suicide mission does weigh heavily on you because returning to Aka has been obviously a very large looming threat for you for some time. let alone having to face your mother and also your weird, evil necromancer stepdad. Not great. And also having to come to terms with whatever Reginald thinks is going to happen after that, and however you're going to reconcile that with him. But perhaps heaviest of all is, of course, that Quinny is coming along for the ride. And so when Ginny knocks and Goblin Jr. opens the door, there's a bit more weight to it than normal. And so she pokes her head in and says, Hi, Uncle Butthole. I guess I'm here to learn some wisdom.
Yeah, come on in. All right, so these are all my birds, and there's just like 60 birds of every species in this room that are all looking at his table. 2 of them have glasses that have clearly been custom made for them because they have an excellent visual plan being part of the bird union. And he's got some messages that he's writing and working with them, and then he's like, all right, so you want to learn wisdom. Okay, so obviously you're here to get what do you... Goblin Jr., can you close the door? Goblin Jr. closed the door. He's like,
Yeah,
all right. So
yeah,
pull up a seat. Like, what do you actually want to? What do you want to know?
And she kind of like goes from standing in a heroic kind of, adventurer as drawn in a player's handbook to just fully doing like the slump into the chair, like shoulders go down, knees together, like immediately just infinitely younger than she seemed a minute ago. And she says, okay, look, Uncle Butthole, I'm going to level with you. It's been great learning things from everyone. My dad's been really, he's been pushing pretty hard lately that I should, gain as much skill as I can and knowledge, which is great because obviously, like, I want to gain that. And I must say, I've been like, I know you've been really encouraging and just saying be yourself, and that's great, but I wasn't really sure who myself was so much, and I'm still not, I guess. But the sheriff was super helpful. She kind of like helped talk me through a lot of that, so that was great. Reginald might be committing some murders, I think, but probably good ones. I don't know. Honestly, I just kind of feel bad for him. I mean, I know you guys have some weird history and stuff, but like, it really seems like he's had a shit ride, and it's scary seeing what can happen if you don't have people around you, if you don't have people like you or like my dad or like Juniper or Bucky to kind of, have your back and to keep you safe. And Cornucopia is so warm and everyone has always done that for each other. I didn't realize how rare that is. Anyway, I guess from you, I guess I kind of want to know, what do you think happens next in all of this? We've got this fortress, and we're building something here, and I know, I hear things here and there about, next steps and taking the fight to them and all that. And I mean, after, blowing up Chad Underbottom, I can understand how you guys do that, which is cool. But I kind of wonder what all this is building towards. I kind of trust that we'll figure it out. I know a lot of the other kids are pretty scared and pretty uncertain, and we don't get told a lot because we're young. And I think people are trying to like save our feelings and stuff, but we literally are the children of a world that is currently ruled by the undead and that previously saw a war. I mean, my whole life I've been pretty sheltered, but some of these kids who lived in the mainland, they remember the war with Akkad and the Plantiers, and that wasn't that long ago. So what are we building towards? What are we really doing here? I'm confident that I can survive a lot of stuff, but I don't know why necessarily,
All right, this is a big chair question. And he leaves where the little chairs are and pulls out a much bigger padded chair.
Like the birds help. Like the birds swoop in and,
Yeah.
and just like squeak the chair closer. There's like a lot of them. None of them are big enough to move it.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Okay, so tactically, on the general front, short term, I mean, if we could, I'm trying to coordinate with some city leaders. We just need to kill a shitload of necromancers, because, I mean, that's the thing keeping the zombies running, but that's not really the question you're asking. And then, I mean, we got to kill the people in charge of Akkad. So one of the things about this world is that it's stupid, but we didn't get to set up the systems that came before us, so we have to work within the stupid systems. Monarchies are dumb and would be much better replaced with democracies, but nobody's really doing that right now. So the easiest way to stop a Ka is to take over a Ka. Now, I am the prince of a Ka. I've been disgraced, but if we kill the people who are there, I'm kind of the only legal option to rule. Once I do that, I can just end the war, as long as we're capable of being devious and murdery enough to stay in charge. That's why I need your dad for both the deviousness and the murder.
And the murder, yeah.
Yeah, and it's my job to get all the people to realize that this is a good deal, because I'm telling you, a world full of Reginalds need a butthole. You know, they don't have a butthole, none of them, and they need one. So that's what I'm there to help with.
Barely
So they
can
can
get together. She's still not used to it. It's really doing it for her.
So they're going to let all I'll help let all the bad stuff out, and then only the good stuff will stay in, so they can move forwards, and we'll get rid of the bad stuff, like flush it away. Beyond that, you're kind of asking the biggest question, which is like, why are we here? You can see why like caring about people is more valuable than not caring about people.
Oh,
It makes
yeah,
the whole
obviously.
thing way better. Which means the real thing that you're talking about. Your dad's not in here, right? And he's just going to look around to try to figure out if there's like an invisible Quinny in the room.
Her eyes narrow, and she kind of leans forward conspiratorial, and she's like, honestly, I never fucking know, and it's really distracting. Like, have you ever tried to flirt with someone not knowing if your dad might be invisible and nearby?
Not if he was invisible, but my dad would go inside the walls and then beat me, so kind of.
Wow. And she like puts a hand on your knee, and she's like, this is probably pretty dumb because I'm kind of just a kid and like you're an adult and also maybe a god or something, but like, are you okay?
I mean, as okay as anybody. Which ultimately probably means no. I mean, traumatic childhood followed by having to overthrow my parents, world's toilet, and I was made to be the vessel for one god but became another because my goddess abandoned me to go to another dimension. But, like, I'm pretty chipper. You know, I eat 3 meals a day.
Okay, well, look, I kind of want to hear what you were going to say, so we'll go back to that in a sec. But Uncle Butthole, I promise once you've taken over a Ka and stuff, and I don't know, maybe you've become a king, but you said monarchies are dumb, so maybe you're not a king anymore. Maybe you're like a democratic king, like in that stage play, The Phantom Menace. I hear they have democratic monarchies in that.
Yeah, I heard about this fantasy realm called England, where they have a king who just sort of sits around and then it's run by a parliament. That sounds pretty good.
That sounds pretty good, yeah. I mean, unless the person running the parliament was like some sort of weird clown person, that would be a problem. But that would never happen.
That's why the king needs a hammer.
Yeah. Look, all I'm saying is once we do this thing, which I assume is like, a while away or whatever, like, I still got to get fitted for proper armor and stuff so that I can come along. And I know, like, we're all excited to help and we're all going to be there to help, and that's going to be great. But once we've done that, once we're, victorious, just like we were before with the tornadoes and everything, we can take care of you for a bit, like maybe we can defend a Ka or whatever. And like, Juniper seems like she's got a really good head for this. And like, maybe she and Annan can like run things for a bit. And like, my dad can like backstab anyone who's fucking shit up. Reginald can pretend that he did it. I think that would make him really happy. He's probably got some stuff to sort out too. But like, if you just need to not be the one with the hammer for a bit, we can probably do that for you. I hope.
I mean, that's a really cool idea. I would like that. I don't know if that's actually possible. That kind of is not the life I have chosen. Because I could have just like, I don't know, fucked off and farmed potatoes or something. If I could go back in time, I wouldn't. I like the people that I'm with. But like, I kind of chose this life, so it's tiring, but it's also satisfying because it has a whole lot of purpose in it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get that. I'm certainly not saying
would be dope.
Yeah, I'm not saying like forever. I'm just saying like, you could also choose to not do it for a little bit and then just come back to it later and be like, oh, I had such a good nap. I mean, Goblin Junior could like go to a beach or something maybe.
Yeah,
I've never seen a beach, but they sound really nice.
Originally, I was going to make him the heir to a Ka if I died, but I think the legal ramifications are there. We could get away with it. It's on the Airbud rule, which is no one said a dog couldn't be king, so technically it's legal, but...
And she finger guns to Goblin Jr., who finger paws back.
Yeah, I might have to figure out who else it could be.
Okay, well, I mean, I know this is down the road. I feel like
so
you carry a lot, but yeah, tell me the thing you didn't want my dad to hear. Dad, if you're in here, you should leave. This is a private conversation, and I don't consent to being recorded by you in your ears.
Butthole
just looks around, fingers
both of
out.
his hands in his drink, and just throws water all over the room, knowing it would hit Quinny if he was there. And if Ginny looks around, she can see that there are water stains on a couple of things. Clearly he's doing this a few times a day, just to make sure Quinny's not in the room.
Quinny, I gotta ask, you wouldn't be in the room for this, right?
No.
Yeah. I feel like you're actually.
I thought about it for the sake of the bit of just as soon as this conversation ends, Quinny appears and who are you flirting with? No, he's busy too, so he's not spying on you guys.
Great.
Okay, so here's the thing. You're looking at what is an incredibly uncertain future. You don't know if things are going to be good. You don't know if things are going to be bad. You don't know if you're going to have the people that you care about right now or if you're going to lose them. And that's kind of the deal about being alive, is stuff gets good and stuff gets bad, and then it fluctuates and it can really swing one way or the other, and then you kind of die at, as far as I can tell, a random point along that path, which is a bummer. You didn't get to choose to be alive. That's the choice that your dad and your mom kind of made for you. You exist, and that's the deal.
Yeah, I think we've established he didn't really make that choice either, but it's cool. I think we've reached a nice...
I mean, from, when the stork came after they did this special dance where they held onto the banister and such, because all Butthole can think of is the time he thinks he had sex with Meryl Streep, where he basically did a dance from True Lies, and that was it, and he thinks that's sex. And he's like, so after the dancing, if you're going to dance in that way in somebody's bedroom, that's a choice you made, and then a kid can happen, I've been told. Where was I? I got
Ginny
excited.
was on the verge of asking you for romantic advice after this, and is now just mentally walking that back, just very quickly.
I mean, sex I don't really get. I'm good at the talking part, because if I had sex with someone, I could accidentally create a bastard prince who could destabilize, as far as I can tell, the world. But here's the thing. So your dad believes in nothing. And then he stole from us all the time, and he was kind of an asshole, and then he died fighting to save us, and then he came back, and he's kind of become this good person.
So fucking
because
cool.
Ultimately, your dad seems to now believe in us, and we believe in doing good things. So, unlike trickle-down economics, trickle-down goodness actually works. If you're nice to people, generally they become nicer. But the thing, everybody else is kind of fighting against a thing that's happening right now, which is why it's good that I'm the king, because what I have that they don't have is faith. I believe we're on the right path. I have faith. I have faith in Moonhammer, even though Moonhammer's gone, which now means I have faith in me. And your dad is very much not a religion person, which is crazy because we've met a lot of gods. They're very real and they give you powers. And your dad instead made deals with a demon and then an insane old lady in a house that has chicken legs. And he's doing that. But you have a chance that he doesn't, which is if you have faith in doing the right thing, you could be a cleric. You could have the same powers that I do. You could build that future and you could help other people find their way there because you help answer those questions for them because you have faith in you. And you can steal stuff and still do that.
And this is she kind of nods and she's like, look at him, Uncle Butthole. I appreciate every time you try and convert me. It's a good bit, and I appreciate it. I'll think about having faith in you as a weird pseudo god. Also, like, for what it's worth, I believe in Moonhammer, and I'm pretty sure even just because she's not in this dimension anymore doesn't mean she's like gone. I mean, like, it would seem that your kind of sense of all of this is kind of in her image. So, like, I hope you aren't giving up on like your faith in Moonhammer, because it sounds like that's helpful to you. And that,
Yeah, no. She made me. So you know how like gods have dads and moms. Like she's my mom. But here's the other thing. You're thinking it's just me is the only option. There's a god of thieves. You could be a cleric of the god of thieves.
yeah, that's more interesting to me.
Then you teach other people to steal. You teach them to steal for the right reasons. And it'll piss off your dad forever.
Honestly, Uncle Butthole, you're really speaking my language here. It sounds like I should probably meet this god of thieves first, though, because it sounds like gods are just kind of more powerful people, maybe. And so I should probably meet them and make sure they're not an asshole, like the guy my dad signed a contract with.
But that was
the guy of several faces.
Yeah, that was a demon. That's not who you want. We're talking like
okay, but I mean, look, you're the cleric, so I know you get this, but and again, I'm not trying to be an asshole about this, but like, gods are like super powerful beings that kind of exist on a different plane of existence, and blah 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 blah. And if you have faith in them and you believe them and you do everything they say, they'll give you powers. Demons are super powerful beings that exist on a different plane of existence, and if you give them your faith and you do things for them, they give you powers. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I know some are evil and some are good. Is there really that much of a difference? It kind of sounds like you're just trying to rebrand them.
No. There's a big difference. Because demons, you sign a deal, and then they like get to eat your soul and shit. And they also like deny things, and they have clear rules. They're like a bad boss. Demon, that's why it's terrible. Gods, I mean, the god that you end up worshiping isn't somebody where you're like, and now I do what this person says forever. That's kind of what your dad thinks clerics are. Like, you just sign up, and then you're like, I'm going to be stupid, and you fill my brain with all your thoughts because I'm stupid, and now we're a cult.
He has said that about clerics.
Yeah, I know. About me, all religions are cults. Here's the thing. The trick is to be a good cleric, an actual cleric, not just like some sort of priest. Barf. It's like, to be a cleric, you got to know what you believe, and then you end up syncing up with a god who shares your beliefs in the world and helps make those happen.
Okay, so you're saying you kind of have to meet the god halfway rather than... Okay, all right. Well, it's interesting.
So why don't you just... Maybe, it sounds like you're already flirting. Why don't you flirt with doing a couple of prayers? See if somebody sends you some powers. Just flirt with religion.
You know, I'll give that a think, Uncle Butthole, but I gotta tell you, if you'd seen how badly my flirting has gone... I don't think you'd be giving me this advice, but this is. I'll
tell you right now, a god's going to be into it.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you,
amazing.
Uncle Butthole, Birds, Goblin Jr. This has been tremendously useful. Also, just so you know, I'm not like not hopeful about. Like I see the value of our friends and our community and everything that's going on here. This is a lot. The world's a lot bigger than I thought it was. I think I kind of thought I would just show up to a bigger world and kind of have an understanding of it because I'm cool like that. And it's not that at all. It's complicated and weird, and everyone has a different opinion on it, and they're all kind of right and kind of wrong. And I know I've got to figure it out for myself.
Here's the question: what would you do if we put you in charge?
Well, that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, because like I can see a lot of the small problems right now, but I don't think the small problems are the actual problem. I think there's probably bigger problems that are leading to the smaller problems, which is honestly and like so much loathing, the loathing that only someone who has always wanted to escape a small town can muster about their small town. Like, honestly is, you know, just kind of what farming is ultimately, where you're kind of seeing the smaller problems and often it's a bigger problem. And I just don't know yet, Uncle Butthole, but I think what matters to me is that what we're doing right now has to be good and has to have all the things you were just talking about. We have to have people we care about. We have to be building something. We have to believe in something, even if it's just ourselves. And I think that's fine. And what happens next is up to us, and we shouldn't repeat the mistakes of the past, but we should learn everything we can from the people who've done good stuff in the past so that we're not just reinventing it. Like, we don't need to reinvent what being a cleric or a priest is. Those things already exist, and we can just learn what they are. And if they work for us, we can do them. And if they don't, then we just won't. Like the god demon thing, it's not just a rebrand. They're actually very different, and I should have known that, but I didn't. I just kind of thought they were the same thing because they're kind of similar, and I kind of
Yeah, I mean,
care.
that makes sense. Surface-wise, yeah. Like,
Cool.
here's the thing. You're already giving all the right answers. If you're able to look at it and go, like, this seems like the problem, but it's probably not the problem, I don't know the answer, congratulations. You're smarter than every other fucking king or ruler or noble I've ever met. Because those dickheads are always like, and here's how I solve it. And you know what they don't do? Solve all the problems. So
Yeah.
keep asking questions, keep listening to people, keep reading, and then, I don't know, pray a little bit. Just for me. Not to me, just for me. To me is an option, but for me.
For you, I can do. To you would feel kind of weird, kind of like I was writing myself a letter that says, hey, Ginny, you're great. And then
Yeah, I mean, your dad does it, though.
he writes
He's prayed
himself
to me
letters?
before.
Oh my God, that's great. I'm going to hang on to that particular
Yeah.
one.
I answered his prayer. Technically, I think I'm the only god he's ever prayed to. So, strong devotee.
That's awesome. And she just kind of smiles. And as she goes to leave, she just sort of stops in the door and just grabs a glass of water, like that's near the door, and immediately like spins it around her to make sure there's no Quinnies to be found. Just like I assume at this point your bedroom's probably like signs where there's just like fucking tiny cups of water everywhere in case you need to throw anti-Quinny
Definitely.
water.
Yeah.
So she just throws some
there's water for
anti-Quinny
the
water.
birds all over the place.
Yeah, around. And when there's no Quinny, she says, also, I know you said that he doesn't believe in any clerics or anything and probably thinks you're super dumb for being one, but yeah, I don't know if he believes in clerics, but he definitely does believe in you, and he said that more than I think you probably know. So just so you know, like, he may not dig religion, but he digs you, I guess. Anyway, you probably already know that because you guys are close.
Thank you.
It's too much. I can't do
And then when she leaves, he turns around to the birds and speaking in bird, he's like, guys, he said it. And they have that like dancing around the room excitement, only it's him and 60 birds and Goblin Jr.
And I think Goblin Jr. is like, he's just like slightly out of step with all of this. He's not bummed about the birds. It's just like he didn't expect 60 new roommates. And there's something weird too for him about the fact that you can talk to them in bird because he doesn't understand bird.
Oh, he's left out.
But I think he also, I know I did him in his actual voice earlier. I think he still only talks to you in snarfs, even though he has to like physically form them because like that's your language. That's how you guys talk.
Yeah, we're fully fluent in that. Also, to be clear, the birds come in for meetings. They have a roost. I don't need 60 birds.
Okay, I was
shitting
thinking
in my
you'd
room.
gone
Birds come
full
in for
Morpheus and
meetings.
John Wick, and you just had fucking birds everywhere.
No, yeah, but
Bird
that's
shit
why
all over your bedroom.
there's like an airy up in the up in a tower where they all have their own space.
Yeah, they're up with
no, this
Fantabulous
is-
Fondue and folks. Yeah, okay.
Because, I mean, they
Scrolls
don't-
rolled out underneath all of them.
They don't want me farting up the joint while they're there. Like, that's got to be hazardous for them. They have
Their
stuff
lungs
they
are very
want to do.
sensitive. Yeah.
They have families.
Yeah, it's a canary and a Dutch oven is, I believe, the old thing. That's how you determine what things are bad. Okay, great.
Yeah, they
So-
need work-sky balance, and that's the important thing for them.
Amazing. Okay, so you have your little dance party, and generally speaking, everyone is in high spirits. And Quinny, even though you're not here for a lot of this, there's an uncertainty, but with it a confidence that you can see building. And I think for someone who has often been the person who is growing in friendships and relationships you've had, it's fascinating to kind of be watching someone grow and helping someone grow rather than just kind of like other people forcing you to. Yeah, she's not all the way there, obviously, but she's definitely kind of like, you can see her kind of coming into her own. And there's a very strange feeling of kind of, you're both responsible for this and have absolutely nothing to do with it. And I think that's an odd thing for someone who is generally pretty good at controlling as many of the variables as you can.
Mm-hmm.
What else would you have been up to in in this time, or would that have been your central focus?
No, sending her to train with other people was also like the point was to learn skills that I can't provide, but also to free up my time for other tasks and things like that. I do feel responsible for many of the people from my hometown who have come here, and just generally like this community that we're building here. And so I would be involved with, I think maybe going on short excursions outside the Castle of Forlorn Hope to source needed materials and various other goods and things like that. Kind of scavenging, I think. Just basically trying to leave this place in as good shape as we possibly can. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's on one of these scavenging missions that you have to kind of drop some stuff off at the greenhouse, which, as we established, is just kind of outside of the castle itself, still within the sort of protective aura. And it is, I think, more of like a poison ivy was here situation now, because Juniper not being great at nature but being good at growing things has meant that it's not a well-tended, beautiful, Victorian garden. It is a fucking weird jungle in there because she just made everything grow. So, whatever weed seed was within, the stuff that was hurriedly packed up, those have grown rampantly. And honestly, it might be the happiest you've ever seen your dad, because there's so much minor gardening to do. And he is just like, as your mom is like going, like helping forge new tools and everything that are needed, he is just like having a time helping teach people kind of like what to prune, what to leave, and all that sort of stuff. So, and, I don't think you see your parents a whole lot. It's not like you guys are having like regular dinners or anything. They're definitely giving you your space, also knowing that you're kind of a big deal. But you can tell that both of them are really thrilled to be kind of like here with Ginny, with Ginny's stepmom, with you. Like the whole family is safe somewhere now. Yeah, is really important to them, and they of course have taken like to Butthole and Juniper and kind of the whole situation really quite well. So it's one of those days where you have to drop off some materials. Your Penny has been hard at work helping convert kind of random scrap and salvage into usable tools throughout the castle. She's always been good at mending things, so there's been a bit of a learning curve for her on going from, I'll just fix this existing shape to having to forge that shape in the first place. But honestly, like she and Leanna have basically become drinking buddies and are like thick as thieves now. Because Leanna has also had the problem of like can procure things and is very capable of like designing things, has always had a hard time. So like there's a skill gap in the middle, and they're both like, it's not quite a Venn diagram, but they're really enjoying kind of like helping each other get up and over the bumps they don't have. So you found some scrap nearby. What you've been finding is like in this sort of whole part of the Icewind Dale, there's a lot of expeditions that have just left shit up the mountain. Yep. The classic like abandoned O2 tanks, all that sort of shit in the real world. So you've been bringing back salvage, and particularly metals are very valuable and useful for making trowels and other such tools. And so it's on one of these sort of expeditions. You're coming back with some supplies. It's probably you and like a few other sort of rangery types that are kind of out and about. Penny just like her face splits into a grin as you arrive, and she just says, "Oh, Quinny, there, it's your timing honestly couldn't be better there, son. We've really it's always nice to see you, but it's particularly nice to see you today because we've got some important work ahead of us. So come here, bring all those materials over here." And
sure.
So,
what's up?
Well, it's a very, hang on, let me get your father. So she like waves to your father, and he kind of like is instructing a few people. Like there's a couple of orcs who are helping him. He kind of like leaves them. He comes over and again just kind of like bustling with excitement. And she says, well, your father and I are very excited because we're getting to train a couple of new farmers today, and we're going to help them make their first tools. Isn't that right there, Tin Man and Mr. Angry? And coming out of a nearby shed, the two most recent farmers to join Forlorn Hope sort of come out to greet you. They are, of course, the sniper, Declan McCready, and the robot, Honor System, the newest farmers here in this small community.
This episode of Dum Dums and Dragons features the voices of Ryan LaPlante at the Ryan LaPlante on Twitter, Tyler Hewitt at Tyler_Hewitt on Twitter, Laura Hamstra at EL Hamstring on Twitter, and our DM Tom McGee at McGeeTD on Twitter. This episode's sound was edited and mixed by Laura Hamstra, and Dum Dums and Dragons artwork is by Del Borovic, who can be found at delborovic.com. Our theme songs are And Now for That Massive Coronary and Skipping Through the Orchestra Pit Part 1 by Peter Gresser, and our ad music is No Control and Chiefs by Jazzar, JAHZZAR, all available at freemusicarchive.org. When it comes to Dum Dums and Dice, you can visit our website at dumdumdice.com. Our Twitter and Instagram are at dumdumdice, and on Facebook at facebook.com/dumdumdice. But most importantly, we've got merchandise at redbubble.com/people/dumdumdice, or you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/dumdumdice. That's DUMBDUMBDICE. And tune in next week for more Dum Dums and Dragons. Dum Dums and Dice has to give a special thank you to the supreme beings of our Patreon at this time. The Half-Blind Prophet, Christopher Little, Sue One, George Dolby, Richard Cranium, Sammy Boy, Orion Birchfield, Scott Garland, Benjamin V, Gavin and Abby McDonald, Logan, Fire Unfriendly, Acrix, Grandma Likes D&D, Alan, Austin Nut Powers Fry, Stabby Stranger, Glitch Trick, Roman Brown, Christian Mendez, Spot Allen, Flynn1138, Alarain Okapi, OMG It's Big Nick, Steve Wees, D&D and Things, Norma Byers, and Jill and Noel LaPlante. If you want your name to be added to this list, you can join our Patreon too at patreon.com/dumdumdice. Thanks to them, and a little bit of thanks to you.